Welcome to Monk's Temple. Tonight, we are not adding another task to your life. We are uncovering an ancient art, the art of gentle release. This wisdom comes from a tradition over 2 millennia old, from the profound insights of the Buddha. His revelation was a practical map of the human mind, showing how our resistance to life's flow creates our deepest suffering, especially in the quiet, vulnerable hours. Here, we learn to stop resisting. We learn to rest, not just in our beds, but in the very nature of awareness itself. Let me begin with a story about Helen, a retired cartographer. She spent her career mapping cities with precise, clean lines. In retirement, her mind became an unmappable territory at night, a chaotic scribble of memories and worries. The frustration was immense. One evening, during a power outage, she lit a single candle. In the flickering light, she saw shadows dance and flow on the wall. She realized she had been trying to map her mind as a static city, when it was really like this play of light and shadow, always moving, impossible to pin down. The relief was instant. Her job wasn't to chart it, but to watch the dance. She could watch her worries flicker and shift like those shadows, without needing to correct their course. In that acceptance, the chaotic scribble lost its power, and a deep calm, like the steady flame at the center, took its place. If this moment of clarity feels like a quiet light in your own evening, please consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. Your subscription helps keep this sanctuary of calm alive, allowing us to offer these pathways to peace, night after night. The core of what we practice is deceptively simple. The Buddhist term is mindfulness, but let's breathe new life into that word. Imagine your awareness is a vast, deep, still mountain lake. The weather of your life, your thoughts, sensations, memories, plays out on the surface. There are ripples of anxiety, waves of pain. For so long, we have identified with the weather. We say, "I am anxious," as if we are the stormy wave itself. But the lake is not the weather. The lake is the deep, still water that holds it all. Our practice is remembering we are the lake. We are the spacious, aware container, not the temporary conditions passing through. The Buddha's genius was pointing to this fundamental distinction. When you lie awake tonight, feel into this. The thought, "I can't sleep," is a ripple. Can you feel the deeper water beneath it that is simply aware of that thought? That is you. That is your true home. From this place, we understand impermanence, or anicca. Every experience is in motion. The ache in your knee is not a solid block of pain, it is a symphony of changing sensations, a throb, a pulse, a heat. Your worry is a stream of mental images, each arising and passing. Suffering comes when we freeze-frame this flow. We take one moment of discomfort and tell ourselves, this is how it will always be. We build a prison from a passing cloud. The wisdom of Buddhism hands you the key: look. Listen. Feel. It is already changing. By noticing the subtle flow within the pain or worry, you stop fighting a statue and start flowing with a river. You align with reality, and in that alignment is profound relief. Consider your restless mind at night as a browser with too many tabs open. One tab plays tomorrow's worries. Another streams an old, sad movie. Another has a to-do list. Each autoplays, creating a cacophony. Trying to force sleep is like frantically shaking the computer. Mindfulness is calmly finding the cursor of your attention. You move it to one tab, the Worry News tab, and you simply click the mute button. You don't close the tab, you just silence it. You move to the next, and mute it. One by one, you lower the volume of the mental chatter. What's left is the quiet hum of the computer itself, the steady, quiet awareness that was there all along. That quiet hum is where rest begins. I recall Ben, a retired bus driver. His nights echoed with his route, the stops, the signals, the faces. He felt still on duty. One night, he imagined pulling his bus over. In his mind's eye, he turned off the engine, opened the door, and let every memory and worry step off into the night. He watched them walk away. Finally, he was alone in the silent, empty bus. He was no longer the driver. He was just a man sitting quietly, with nowhere to go. He had found the mute button. In the silence that followed, sleep found him. This leads to non-attachment. This is not uncaring. It is caring so deeply for your peace that you stop tying it to uncontrollable outcomes. You stop saying, "I will only be peaceful if I fall asleep." You stop clinging to the ghost of past sleep. Non-attachment is the courageous middle path. Sleep may come, or it may not. My peace is in my relationship to this moment. You are no longer a hostage to conditions. The Buddha taught that attachment to anything transient is the root of suffering. By practicing non-attachment to the result of sleep, you dissolve a massive layer of suffering, leaving the simple, manageable present. Think of sitting on a riverbank, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought, a desire for sleep. Non-attachment is not jumping in to chase a leaf. It is sitting comfortably on the bank, wrapped in a warm blanket of awareness, watching the flow. You are safe. You are at peace. The river does its work, and you do yours, simply to be aware, resting on the solid ground of now. Let's explore this foundation further by introducing the concept of the observer. This is the most important shift in perception you will ever make. In Buddhism, this is the essence of wisdom. The separation of pure awareness from the contents it observes. Right now, as you listen, there is the sound of my voice. But behind that, there is the one who is hearing it. That one is the observer. When a painful memory arises, you are not the memory, you are the awareness that knows the memory is present. This is not a philosophical idea, it is a direct experience you can find in any moment. Tonight, when the mind churns, ask this simple, gentle question: who is aware of this churning? Don't search for an answer in words. Feel for the space around the thought. That silent, knowing space is your true self. It is untouched by the story. The Buddha called this the luminous mind. It is your sanctuary. I knew a man named Thomas, a retired judge. His life had been about assessing evidence, making rulings, and delivering verdicts. At night, his mind would hold court on his entire life, delivering harsh judgments on past decisions. He was both the accused and the judge, and the sentence was always guilt and insomnia. One day, while walking in a park, he saw two children watching ants scurry on a path. They weren't trying to control the ants, they were simply fascinated observers. Thomas had a revelation. He realized he didn't have to be the judge in his own mind. He could be the child watching the ants. That night, when the mental court convened, he consciously stepped back. He thought, I am not the judge. I am not the accused. I am just watching. The gavel fell silent. The charges lost their weight. He was simply observing the procession of thoughts across the path of his awareness. For the first time in years, he was given a pardon, by his own hand. Now, we bring in a powerful tool from the Buddhist tradition, loving kindness, or metta. This is the active cultivation of a friendly, benevolent heart. It begins with you. Often, our relationship with our own wakefulness is one of warfare. Metta is the white flag. It is the gentle offering of well wishes to yourself, exactly as you are in this moment. You can softly repeat phrases like, "May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering." You are not pretending everything is fine. You are planting seeds of kindness in the soil of your present moment experience. This practice softens the entire nervous system. It signals to the deepest parts of your being that you are not under threat, even if sleep is elusive. From this softened self, compassion naturally flows outward to all others who might be awake, suffering, or lonely. Your wakefulness becomes a vessel for connection, not isolation. Imagine your heart is an old, stiff piece of leather, hardened by years of weather. Loving kindness is the warm oil you gently work into it. You don't force it. You apply it with patience, over and over. Slowly, the leather softens. It becomes supple, flexible, able to hold things without cracking. Your heart, met with metta, becomes like that, softer, more resilient, able to hold the complexities of the night without breaking. Let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor was a lifelong gardener whose arthritis had forced her to give up her beloved hobby. At night, she would lie still, and her hands would throb with a pain that felt like grief. She was filled with anger at her own body. A friend suggested metta. Skeptical but desperate, she tried it. She placed her aching hands on her chest and began, not with grand phrases, but with simple, direct words to her own body, "Thank you for planting so many seeds. Thank you for holding so many trowels and pulling so many weeds. I am sorry you hurt. May you have ease." She did this for several nights. The pain did not vanish, but the anger around it did. The pain became just a sensation, no longer wrapped in a story of betrayal. It was as if her own kindness had become a gentle mulch, surrounding the sharpness, allowing it to simply be, without tearing at her. She began to sleep in longer, deeper stretches. This practice of befriending our experience is the antidote to what the Buddha identified as a primary poison, aversion, or the desire to push away what is unpleasant. Our instinct is to push away wakefulness, push away pain, push away the racing mind. But what we resist, persists. It gains strength from our opposition. The psychological insight here is counterintuitive. To find freedom from something, you must first stop fighting it. You must turn toward it with curiosity, even acceptance. This is not resignation, it is a strategic retreat from a battle you cannot win, so you can claim a peace that was always available behind the front lines. Think of your most persistent nighttime worry as a small, hungry animal scratching at your door. If you scream at it, barricade the door, and live in fear, the scratching becomes the center of your universe. But if you, with great caution and compassion, open the door a crack and place a small bowl of food outside, something changes. You acknowledge its presence. You meet its basic need to be seen. Very often, it takes the food and leaves. It may return, but the relationship is transformed. You are no longer its terrified prisoner, you are its occasional, calm caretaker. Your worry, met with the food of acknowledgement and non-judgmental attention, often loses its urgent, scratchy quality. All of this, observing, befriending, allowing, culminates in a state of profound ease. In Buddhist terms, this is a taste of nirvana, not as a far-off heaven, but as the extinguishing of the fires that burn in your mind. The fire of craving for sleep. The fire of hatred for wakefulness. The fire of delusion that this night will never end. When you observe without judgment, offer yourself kindness, and stop fighting what is, you pour cool water on these fires. What remains is a clear, cool space. This is the peace that is not dependent on external conditions. This is the peace you can access right now. It is the peace of the observer, resting in itself. So tonight, as you settle into bed, I invite you to try this simple integration. First, become the lake. Feel the vast, still depth of your awareness. Let thoughts and sensations be mere weather on the surface. Then, from that deep place, offer one simple phrase of loving kindness to yourself: may I rest in peace. Just that. You are not demanding sleep. You are inviting peace to be the ground of your experience, whatever unfolds on top of it. You are planting the flag of the observer in the territory of your own mind, claiming it not through force, but through gentle, unwavering presence. Let's deepen our understanding by exploring a principle that might seem challenging, but is ultimately freeing: the emptiness of problems. In Buddhist philosophy, this relates to sunyata, often translated as emptiness. It does not mean nothingness, but rather that things, including our most nagging issues, do not possess a solid, independent, permanent identity. Your insomnia is not a solid monster living under your bed. It is a temporary coming together of conditions. A busy mind, a body out of sync, a pattern of worry, the soft glow of a clock. When we name it, my insomnia, we build it a fortress and give it a throne. Our practice is to deconstruct that fortress by looking closely at its parts. What is it, in this very moment, actually made of? A thought? A physical tension? An emotion? Watch each part arise, do its dance, and pass. See the emptiness of a singular, unchanging problem. What remains is simply the flow of experience, which you can meet with awareness and kindness. I remember a woman named Clara, a former concert pianist. A tremor in her hands had ended her career, and with it, her sense of identity. At night, she would lie still, and the silence felt like a condemnation, a void where music should be. She called this void, my failure. It was a thick, heavy blanket smothering her. One insomniac night, she went to her living room and did not turn on the light. Instead, she sat in the dark and simply listened. She heard the hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of a clock, the distant swish of a car on wet pavement. She heard her own breath. She realized the silence wasn't empty at all, it was full of a subtle, complex symphony. Her failure was not a monolithic thing. It was a story she told, layered over a rich sensory world that was still present, still alive. The fortress of her problem began to feel transparent, then imaginary. She was left sitting in the truth of the moment, a woman, in a dark room, listening to the night. And that was okay. More than okay, it was peaceful. This leads us to a vital, practical skill: working with sensation. So much of our nighttime struggle is not mental, but physical. Aches, pains, numbness, restlessness. The Buddha's fundamental teaching on mindfulness begins with the body for a reason. It is our most immediate, tangible anchor to the present. When pain arises, our instinct is to contract around it, to mentally shout "No." This contraction amplifies the suffering. The alternative is to bring a gentle, investigative attention to the sensation itself. Where exactly is it? What is its texture? Is it sharp, dull, throbbing, hot? Does it have edges? Does it change even slightly with the breath? This is not a medical diagnosis. It is an act of intimate curiosity. You are discovering the sensation as a pure experience, separate from the story of "my bad back" or "my terrible arthritis." In the space created by this curious attention, the sensation often loses its emotional charge. It becomes just another phenomenon in the field of your awareness, intense, perhaps, but not all-defining. Think of a physical discomfort as a piece of music playing on a distant radio. When you fight it, you're trying to break the radio. When you worry about it, you're writing a long essay about why this song is terrible. But when you bring mindful attention, you simply listen to the music. You note its volume, its tempo, its instruments. You don't have to like the song. But by listening to it precisely, you are no longer lost in a war with it or a story about it. You are simply listening. And very often, when you truly listen, the song changes key, or the volume lowers, or your relationship to the sound transforms entirely. I once met a retired carpenter named Frank. His hands, which had built so much, were now gnarled with arthritis. At night, the pain was a constant, angry companion. He tried everything to fight it. Then, one night, in sheer exhaustion, he gave up. He decided to stop fighting and start exploring. He placed his attention on the pain in his right thumb. He asked, silently, "What do you actually feel like?" To his surprise, the answer wasn't just pain. It was a tight, knotted heat. With a cool, throbbing pulse around the edges, and underneath, a dull, constant pressure. He kept exploring, moving his attention like a gentle spotlight from one finger to the next. He wasn't trying to heal anything, he was just mapping the territory with curiosity. After about 20 minutes, he realized something: he had become fascinated. The angry companion had become a complex landscape he was studying. The suffering, the emotional torment around the pain, had vanished. The sensations remained, but they were no longer his enemy. They were just sensations. He fell asleep still observing them, like an astronomer watching distant stars. Now, let's apply this same curious attention to the mind itself, through a concept we can call the thought parade. You are sitting on the curb of a quiet street at night, watching a parade pass by. Each thought, memory, or plan is afloat in the parade. Some floats are bright and loud, the worry about the doctor's appointment. Some are sad and slow, the memory of a lost friend. Your job is not to stop the parade, judge the floats, or jump on board and ride away with one. Your job is to stay on the curb. You simply note, there's the tomorrow's errands float. And now, here comes the remember that embarrassing moment from 1992 float. You wave as they pass. You acknowledge them. But you keep your seat. This is the essence of mindfulness of mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the aware space witnessing the procession. The Buddha taught that a thought is like a thief in an empty house. It only has power if the house is believed to be empty of awareness. But when you, the luminous owner, are clearly present and watching from the curb, the thought thief simply walks on by, powerless. This practice directly undermines the tyranny of rumination, the mind's repetitive, sticky looping. Rumination is like getting up from the curb and chasing after one particularly distressing float, trying to climb on it and redecorate it as it moves. It's exhausting and futile. The mindful return to the curb is the act of self-liberation. Each time you notice you've been carried away by a thought train, you gently, without any self-criticism, return to the sensation of your breath, or the weight of your body on the mattress. You come back to the curb. This gentle return is the most important repetition of all. It is the workout that builds the muscle of peace. So tonight, we weave these strands together. Begin with the body. Feel the points of contact with the bed. Be the curious explorer of those sensations. Then, expand to include the thought parade. Take your seat on the curb. Watch the floats of the mind pass under the streetlights of your awareness. And if a physical sensation arises, treat it like a very slow, very detailed float in the same parade. Observe its shape, its color, its movement. You are not in the parade. You are the serene witness to it all. From this place of witnessing, the very concepts of problem and sufferer begin to lose their solidity. You are left with the peaceful, empty street after the parade has passed, a spaciousness that is perfect for rest. Now we arrive at a concept that is both the simplest and most profound, being here. In the tapestry of Buddhist wisdom, this is the ultimate destination of all the practices, to fully inhabit the present moment. The Buddha taught that the past is a memory, the future a speculation, and that true peace exists only in the undeniable reality of now. Yet, our minds are time travelers, and in the quiet of night, they journey most furiously, regretting yesterday, fearing tomorrow. Our work is to gently, repeatedly, recall the traveler home. Not with force, but with a soft invitation to notice what is truly here, the breath, the darkness behind your eyelids, the softness of the sheets. This is not a dismissal of your concerns, but a radical change of address. You are moving your mental residence from the chaotic country of what if to the peaceful village of what is. Imagine your awareness is a lighthouse. Its job is not to chase after ships lost in the stormy seas of past and future. Its job is to stand firm, grounded on the solid rock of the present moment, and shine its steady beam. The ships, your thoughts, may still be out there in the fog, but you are no longer adrift with them. You are the unwavering light, and your illumination is the simple fact of your own presence. I am here. That is your beam. Every time you get lost in a story, you simply return to powering the lighthouse. I am here. The breath is here. The bed is here. This is your ground. Let me tell you about Arthur. Arthur was a retired postal worker whose mind was a master of routes and schedules. At night, it would frantically try to deliver thoughts to the wrong addresses, past grievances to the present moment, future anxieties to the quiet bedroom. He was perpetually on a mental route, exhausted but unable to clock out. One evening, his grandson left a child's kaleidoscope at his house. Arthur picked it up, pointed it at a lamp, and turned it. The chaotic fragments of color fell into a perfect, symmetrical pattern. A turn, and a new, equally complete pattern emerged. He had a revelation. His mind was like the kaleidoscope's chamber, full of fragmented, colored pieces of memory and worry. But he was the one holding the tube. He could choose to stop shaking it. He could bring it to his eye and look at the pattern of this moment, right now, as it was. He didn't have to deliver the fragments, he could simply observe the temporary, often beautiful, pattern they made when he was still. That night, instead of running his mental route, he lay in bed and said, "What is the pattern right now?" The answer was, darkness. Quiet. The weight of the blanket. A faint scent of laundry soap. That was the complete, sufficient pattern. He gazed at it until he fell asleep. He had finally arrived at his true address, here. This practice of arriving here is deeply supported by what we can call sacred boredom. Our modern minds are addicted to stimulation, to solving, to doing. Lying in the dark with nothing to do feels like a failure, which fuels anxiety. But from the perspective of Buddhist mindfulness, this boredom is sacred. It is the fertile ground where the compulsive doing of the mind finally exhausts itself, leaving space for pure being. When you feel that restless itch of, "I should be asleep by now," see if you can reframe it. This is not wasted time. This is an invitation into the sanctuary of undemanding presence. There is nothing to achieve, nowhere to go. You are granted permission to simply exist, without purpose or product. In that permission, the nervous system finds a level of deep rest that is often more renewing than fitful sleep. Consider a pond that has been stirred up all day. The water is murky. The night comes, and the stirring stops. There is nothing to do but wait. Slowly, the silt settles. The water becomes clear, reflecting the moon. Your mind is that pond. The sacred boredom of the night is the necessary cessation of stirring. Your job is not to clear the water, your job is to stop stirring. To be bored. To let the silt of the day's thoughts gradually, on its own time, settle. The clarity that emerges is your natural state of peace. From this settled place, we can engage with a beautiful practice, gratitude as a ground. While loving kindness actively wishes well, gratitude quietly acknowledges the good that is already present. It is a direct counterbalance to the mind's survival bias, which scans for threats and problems, especially in the vulnerable night. You are not searching for grand things. You are feeling for the subtle supports of the moment. The pillow cooling the cheek. The fact of a roof overhead. The memory of a smile shared earlier. Gratitude roots you firmly in the here by showing you that here is not empty, it is abundantly, subtly supportive. This is a psychological reframing of immense power. It changes the very texture of your reality from one of lack to one of sufficiency. I recall a woman named Maeve who lived in a small apartment overlooking a bustling street. The noise at night used to be a source of intense irritation, a barrier to sleep. Then, during a particularly sleepless period, she began practicing gratitude. One night, instead of cursing the distant siren, she found herself weirdly grateful for it. Thank you, she thought, for meaning someone is getting help. The rumble of a late bus became, thank you for carrying someone home. The murmur of voices from the cafe below became, thank you for community. She didn't pretend to like the noise, but she acknowledged the life it represented. Her irritation melted into a strange, connected tenderness. The noise became the distant heartbeat of the city she was a part of, not an invasion. Her sense of isolation vanished. She felt held, and in that feeling, she found a deep, city song lullaby that finally let her rest. All of these strands, being here, sacred boredom, and gratitude, conspire to create the ultimate condition for rest, safety. The amygdala, the brain's alarm center, cannot tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. A worried thought about finances can trigger the same fight or flight response as a physical danger. Our mindfulness practices are a systematic, gentle way of signaling to the deepest parts of your brain, it is safe. There is no emergency in this moment. The only thing happening is breath. The only thing required is presence. You are decommissioning the internal night watchman who is exhausted from standing guard over imaginary threats. You are telling him, with the steady evidence of your anchored attention, that he can finally stand down. So tonight, let this be your practice. Do not seek sleep. Seek here. Feel the undeniable reality of your body in the bed. When the mind time travels, thank it for its report, and remind it softly, we are here now. Embrace the sacred boredom of the dark. Find 3 tiny, specific things in your immediate experience to feel a whisper of gratitude for: the smoothness of the sheet, the rhythm of your heart, the fact of a lungful of air. In this trinity of here, boredom, and gratitude, you are building an unshakable sanctuary of safety within yourself. And from that sanctuary, rest emerges not as an achievement, but as a natural, blooming fact. We now turn to a gentle yet profound exploration of letting go. This is not an act of forceful dismissal, but a natural unfolding, like a leaf releasing from a tree in autumn. In the Buddha's teachings, this is the fruit of understanding impermanence and non-attachment. We see clearly that clinging to any experience, be it a pleasant memory we wish to recapture or a present discomfort we wish to flee, causes a friction in the mind. Letting go is the cessation of that friction. It is the open hand after a long, tight clutch. At night, we are often clutching to the desire for sleep, to the identity of being a bad sleeper, to the story of our pain. Our practice is to feel the tension of that clutch, and with compassionate awareness, to invite the fingers to loosen, one by one. Think of your mind as an old-fashioned jar filled with muddy water and glitter. The jar is you, trying to grasp and hold on to the sparkling thoughts, the glitter, and make the mud, the discomfort, settle. The more you shake the jar, the more you grasp and struggle. The murkier it becomes. Letting go is simply setting the jar down on the stable ground of the present moment. You stop shaking. You stop trying to control the contents. You allow the natural law of gravity to operate. The glitter slowly drifts down. The mud settles. The water, your innate clarity, becomes visible again. You don't do the settling, you allow it by ceasing the agitation of grasping. I knew a man named Walter, a retired clockmaker. His insomnia felt like a broken mainspring in his personal timepiece. He was constantly trying to fix it, to wind it back to perfect rhythm. He would calculate hours of lost sleep, creating intricate mental diagrams of his failure. One afternoon, while cleaning his workshop, he opened an old drawer and found a broken pocket watch he had long ago given up on. He held it in his palm, and instead of seeing a puzzle to solve, he simply observed it. The tarnished brass, the frozen hands, the delicate, unmoving gears. He felt no urge to repair it. He appreciated it as an object, an artifact of time itself being still. That night, he applied the same gaze to his wakefulness. He stopped trying to fix his broken sleep. He simply observed the wakefulness itself, the quality of the dark, the parade of thoughts, the feel of the night air. He let go of the identity of the fixer. In that release, he found a strange, still beauty in the night itself, and in that stillness, the mainspring of his own being finally unwound into rest. This act of letting go brings us to the doorstep of a powerful Buddhist concept, equanimity, or Upekkha. Equanimity is balance of mind. It is the ability to meet all experiences, the pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral, with a steady, calm heart. It is not indifference. It is a profound, imperturbable fairness. You grant the pain the same right to exist as you grant the comfort. You grant the worry the same space as you grant the peace. In doing so, you are no longer at war with your reality. You become like a deep-rooted tree in a storm. The branches, your thoughts and feelings, may sway wildly, but the trunk, your aware presence, remains steady and grounded. The storm of the night cannot uproot you. To cultivate this, we can practice labeling with love. When a strong experience arises, instead of being swept away by its narrative, you gently place a simple, soft label on it. For a knot of anxiety, worrying. For a sharp pain, stabbing. For a wave of sadness, grieving. The label is not a judgment. It is a recognition, spoken with the tenderness you might use to name a flower. This simple act creates a tiny but crucial gap between you and the experience. You are not the worrier. You are the one who is aware of the worrying. In that gap, equanimity grows. You are the steady sky naming the passing cloud. Let me share a story about equanimity from a woman named Grace. Grace had been a midwife, a witness to the raw, intense threshold between struggle and new life. In her old age, she faced relentless sciatic pain. The nights were a long labor of their own. One night, during a particularly sharp flare, she found herself using her old professional calm. She began to breathe with the pain as she once had coached mothers to breathe with contractions. She didn't breathe to make it go away, but to meet it, to allow it. She labeled its phases, a building wave, a peak of intensity, now a slow release. She brought the same impartial, supportive presence to her own body that she had brought to countless others. She was in pain, but she was not panicked. She was, in a profound sense, in partnership with the experience. Her equanimity did not remove the sensation, but it completely removed the terror and resistance, transforming agony into a manageable, natural process. She found she could rest within the pain, as one rests in the eye of a storm. This leads us to reframe our very relationship with the night. We can call this the hospitable night. What if the darkness was not an enemy to be conquered, but a guest house to be tended? In this guest house, every thought, every sensation, every emotion is a traveler arriving at your door, weary from the long road of the day. Your role as the host is not to turn them away or to cling to them as permanent residents. Your role is to offer them a brief sanctuary, a bowl of water, your attention, a seat by the fire, your awareness, and the freedom to move on when they are ready. You greet worry at the door. You welcome fatigue. You acknowledge pain. You offer them the hospitality of non-judgmental presence, and then you let them be. You don't follow them to their rooms. You return to your seat by the hearth, tending the fire of your own gentle breath. The night becomes a silent, compassionate vigil, not a desperate battle. So tonight, practice being the host of the hospitable night. As each experience arises, greet it at the door. Name it softly. Ah, planning, come in. Sit a while. Hello, ache, I see you. Rest here. Offer it the space to be, without needing it to change. Then, return your primary attention to the hearth, to the steady, warm glow of the breath in your belly. Your only duty is to keep the hearth fire of awareness burning. The guests will come and go. Some may stay late. But you, the host, are eternally at home by the fire, steady, present, and utterly at peace. In this atmosphere of hospitable equanimity, the body and mind feel permission to truly let go, and in that letting go, to find the deep rest that has been waiting all along. Now, let's explore a concept that sits at the very heart of transformation, turning towards. Our instinct, deeply wired for survival, is to turn away from discomfort. We avert our inner gaze from pain, from anxiety, from the raw edges of our experience. But Buddhist psychology reveals a paradoxical truth. Freedom is found not in avoidance, but in a gentle, curious turning towards. The Buddha taught that we must understand suffering to end it. We must know the thorn to remove it. This is not masochism, it is the ultimate pragmatism. By turning the soft light of our awareness directly onto what we fear or dislike, we see it for what it truly is, a transient constellation of sensations and thoughts, not a monolithic demon. In the night, this means turning towards the very restlessness that seems to be the enemy. Imagine you are in a dimly lit room, afraid of a shadow in the corner. Your fear makes the shadow loom large, threatening, alive. Turning towards it means walking slowly, calmly, to the corner and shining a flashlight on it. You see it's merely a coat piled on a chair. The fear evaporates in the light of direct knowledge. Your anxiety about sleep, your physical pain, your looping thoughts. They are those shadows. Turning towards them with the flashlight of mindful attention dispels their terrifying mythologies. They become just what they are, a feeling, a sensation, a mental pattern. Manageable. Workable. Often, even interesting. I remember a retired teacher named Sylvia. For years, she had a ritual of dreading the approach of 3 a.m. She called it the witching hour, when her mind would spiral into existential fears. One night, instead of resisting its approach, she decided to turn towards it. As 3 a.m. neared, she sat up in bed and said aloud, "Okay, I'm here. Let's see what you really are." She turned on a small, soft light. She felt the anxiety in her body, a fluttering in her chest, a tightness in her throat. She observed the thoughts, "Life is short. I haven't done enough. What comes next?" She didn't argue or agree. She just noted, fear is here. Thoughts about mortality are here. She shone the light of simple recognition on each part. To her astonishment, by 3:15, the intense dread had diffused. It wasn't a monstrous hour, it was just a time on the clock, accompanied by some human sensations and universal thoughts. By turning towards it, she had broken its spell. The witching hour became just another moment of the night, no more or less valid than any other. This practice of turning towards is built upon a foundation of radical acceptance. Acceptance is not approval. It is not saying, I love this pain. It is saying, this is what is present in my experience right now. Fighting this fact is causing more suffering than the pain itself. It is the conscious decision to stop arguing with reality. When you stop arguing, your energy is freed. That energy can then be used to respond with wisdom and care, rather than react with panic and resistance. In the Buddhist framework, this is the end of ignorance. The ignorance that says, this shouldn't be happening. With acceptance, you align yourself with the truth of the moment, and from that alignment, intelligent action, or intelligent rest, becomes possible. Think of acceptance as lowering a drawbridge over a moat. You've been in a castle of how things should be, besieged by the army of how things are. You're exhausted from pouring boiling oil, your resistance, on the troops below. Acceptance is the moment you lower the bridge. It doesn't mean you let the army sack the castle. It means you end the siege. You open to engagement, to negotiation, to seeing the army not as a faceless enemy, but as a messenger with information. The message might be, there is tension here that needs softening. Or, there is grief here that needs witnessing. Acceptance allows the message to be delivered, so the messenger can leave. From this place of acceptance, we can engage in a beautiful practice of inner dialogue. Often, our suffering is a monologue, a harsh, critical voice berating us for being awake. We can transform this into a dialogue of compassion. When a part of you is frightened or in pain, you can, from your seat of awareness, ask it a gentle question. You might mentally whisper, "What do you need right now?" Don't expect an answer in words. Listen for a feeling, an intuition. The answer might be to be heard, or to feel safe, or simply to rest. Then, from your wiser self, you can offer that. You can mentally reply, "I hear you. You are safe here with me. It's okay to rest." This is not self-deception. It is you, the vast awareness, offering comfort to you, the temporary, conditioned part that is struggling. It is the ultimate inner hospitality. Let me tell you about Robert, a former veteran. Loud noises in the night would trigger a panic response, a relic of his past. He would spend hours rigid, heart pounding, fighting the fear. One night, during a thunderstorm, he tried inner dialogue. When the panic arose, instead of fighting it, he inwardly said to the panicked part, "I know you're scared. You're remembering old dangers. But we are safe now. We are in our home. The thunder is just sound." He placed a hand on his chest. He repeated, "We are safe now." He was speaking to the young soldier still within him. He didn't try to banish that part, he reassured it. He turned towards the panic with the voice of a compassionate commander. The physiological symptoms took time to subside, but the terror, the secondary fear of the fear itself, vanished instantly. He rode out the storm not as a trapped soldier, but as a protector of his own inner life. That was the night his insomnia began to heal. Turning towards, accepting, and dialoguing, these practices culminate in a profound reclaiming of the night. The night is not a blank space of failure between days. It is a rich, sovereign territory. It is the domain of the moon, of dreams, of quiet, of introspection. In our culture, we privilege the day, productivity, action, light. But the Buddha embraced the whole cycle. The night holds its own wisdom, the wisdom of receptivity, of surrender, of inner vision. When you turn towards your experience with acceptance, you are not just solving a sleep problem, you are reclaiming your rightful citizenship in the night. You are learning its language of shadows and silence. You are discovering that peace is not only found in unconsciousness, but in a profoundly conscious, peaceful relationship with the dark. So tonight, if you find yourself in discomfort, experiment. Gently turn towards it. Shine the soft light of your attention on it and ask, what are you, really? Practice radical acceptance. This is what is here right now. Arguing is exhausting. Then, open an inner dialogue. Ask the feeling what it needs, and from your deepest kindness, offer it. You are not just waiting for sleep. You are engaging in the most important work of all. Making peace with your own experience, reclaiming every hour of the night as a valid, meaningful part of your life, worthy of your compassionate presence. Let us now contemplate a principle that can transform not only your nights but the very fabric of your daily life, interbeing. This is a beautiful concept from the Buddhist tradition, illustrating that nothing exists in isolation. You are not a sealed, separate self lying alone in a dark room. You are a dynamic node in a vast, humming web of life. The oxygen in your breath was once in a leaf. The warmth of your blanket comes from the sun. The memories in your mind are made of relationships. When insomnia makes you feel isolated, cut off from the sleeping world, the practice of interbeing is your bridge back to connection. You remember you are part of a whole, and your wakefulness is just one note in the universe's endless symphony. Imagine you are a single wave on the surface of a vast, dark ocean. From the wave's perspective, it has a beginning and an end. It rises, crests, and fears crashing. It feels separate from the other waves. But the wave is made of ocean. Its substance is inseparable from the deep, calm water below and all around it. Your anxious, wakeful mind is that wave. The practice is to feel the ocean. To remember you are not just the temporary, cresting form of the one who can't sleep, but the eternal, silent depth of awareness itself, connected to all other waves, to the moon that pulls the tides, to the very water of life. This remembrance is a profound solace. I knew a woman named Harriet, a retired telephone operator who had spent decades connecting calls, hearing fragments of 1,000 lives. In her loneliness at night, she felt like a disconnected line, a silent switchboard. One particularly long night, she began to practice interbeing. She placed a hand on her heart and considered her heartbeat. She thought of all the other hearts beating in the night, in her apartment building, in the city, across the world. She thought of the nurses monitoring heartbeats in hospitals, the parents listening to the breath of sleeping children. She wasn't just a lonely insomniac, she was participating in the great, rhythmic pulse of the human family, awake or asleep. Then she thought of the trees outside, not producing oxygen but resting, and the earth itself, turning slowly toward the dawn. Her problem didn't vanish, but it was placed in a context so vast it lost its sting. She was a vital point in a net of existence. She felt held by the net itself. That feeling of cosmic companionship allowed her to drift into a state of rest more nourishing than any sleep she could remember. From this sense of connection, we can practice compassionate resonance. This goes beyond sending loving kindness to others. It is the active feeling of resonance with the state of the world. You feel your own restlessness, and instead of condemning it, you think, there is restlessness in me, just as there is in the world. There is suffering in me, just as there is in the world. This is not adding weight, it is sharing the burden. You realize your personal difficulty is a microcosm of a universal condition. And in that realization, a strange comfort arises. You are not broken, you are human. You are in tune with the very frequency of human experience. From this place, you can send out a wish not just for personal peace, but for the calming of all restless hearts. Your wakefulness becomes a vigil for the world's unease, transforming it from a private curse into a sacred, shared offering. Consider the night sky. When you look at a single, bright, lonely star, it can seem isolated. But when you gaze at the full tapestry, you see it as part of a constellation, part of a galaxy, part of an unimaginably large cosmic web. Your lonely, wakeful star of consciousness is, in truth, part of the constellation of your life experiences, the galaxy of your community, the cosmos of all sentient beings. The darkness between the stars is not empty, it is the connecting space that allows you to see the light. The space between your thoughts, that's the interbeing. The silence between the sounds of the night, that's the connection. This understanding naturally dissolves another major source of nighttime suffering, the tyranny of the personal narrative. We tell ourselves stories, my insomnia, my bad back, my lonely life. These stories build walls. Interbeing shows us the walls are an illusion. The calcium in your aching bone was forged in a star. The rhythm of your breath is synchronized with the rising and falling of the tides. The love you once felt and still cherish is an energy that never dissipates, only changes form. When you feel pain, it is not just your pain, it is a sensation manifesting in the field of life, of which you are a part. This doesn't make it hurt less, but it removes the secondary anguish of feeling uniquely targeted by suffering. You are participating in a universal dance of sensation, not being punished by a private tragedy. Let me share a story about a man named Leo, a retired astronomer. His sleep was ruined by tinnitus, a constant, high-pitched ringing in his ears. He fought it bitterly, a private, maddening concert no one else could hear. It made him feel severed from the world. One night, in desperation, he went to his old telescope but didn't look through it. He just lay on the ground beside it, looking up at the Milky Way. As he gazed, his scientist's mind recalled that space is not silent. It is filled with radiation. Radio waves, cosmic microwaves, the leftover hum of the Big Bang. The universe itself rings. In a flash, his perspective shifted. His tinnitus was no longer a personal defect. It was his own, internal, intimate echo of the universe's own resonant song. He wasn't broken, he was tuning in, however imperfectly, to a fundamental frequency of existence. He stopped fighting the ring. He began, curiously, to listen to it, as one might listen to the distant ring of a cosmic bell. The suffering, the layer of anger and resistance, fell away. He found he could rest beneath his personal star song, and it became, not a noise, but a lullaby. So tonight, practice interbeing. As you lie in the dark, feel beyond the boundaries of your skin. Feel the air in the room, shared with plants, with dust, with history. Feel your breath as an exchange with the atmosphere of the planet. Hear a distant sound not as an intrusion, but as proof of a world alive around you. When a difficult thought or sensation arises, see it not as yours alone, but as a passing weather pattern in the shared sky of consciousness. You are the night, and the night is vast. You are not alone in it, you are of it. In this profound remembering, the separate, struggling self relaxes its grip, and you sink into the supportive, interconnected web of all that is. This is the deepest possible rest. We have traveled a path of gentle awareness together, from the first recognition of being the lake to the vast understanding of interbeing. Now, we arrive at the simplest destination of all, the peace that is already here. The great secret, whispered by the Buddha and echoed in every moment of true mindfulness, is that you are not journeying toward peace as if it were a distant shore. You are learning to recognize the peace that has always been your native sea. Every technique, every story, every metaphor is merely a finger pointing at the moon, not the moon itself. The moon is your own undisturbed nature, shining behind the passing clouds of thought and sensation. The work of these nights is not to create something new, but to cease the activity that obscures what is eternally present. Imagine you have inherited a beautiful, ancient house. Over the years, you've filled it with furniture, stacked boxes in the halls, hung thick drapes over the windows. You've been living in crowded, dim rooms, thinking, this house is so dark and cluttered. Our practice is not about building a new house. It is the slow, loving process of opening the drapes, clearing the halls, and putting things in order. You are not creating light, you are revealing the sunlight that was always pouring in. You are not creating space. You are uncovering the spaciousness that is the house's true nature. Your peace is like that sunlight. Your awareness is like that space. They cannot be damaged or lost, only overlooked. There is no final achievement, only a continuous, gentle returning. You will forget you are the lake and believe you are the storm. You will forget you are the host and believe you are a hostage. This is not failure, this is the human rhythm. The magic is in the softness of the return. Each time you remember to observe, to breathe, to say, I am here, you are opening a curtain. Each time you meet a sensation with curiosity instead of fear, you are clearing the hall. The more you do this, the more you live in the bright, open spaces of your own being, even in the heart of the night. So let this be the lasting understanding, you are whole. Your wakefulness is not a flaw, but a facet of your aliveness. The night is not your opponent, but a silent teacher. Each moment of gentle attention is a victory. Each breath taken with awareness is a homecoming. You are not broken. You are awake. And in the deepest sense, that is exactly what you are meant to be. May this knowing be your comfort and your constant guide. Thank you for sharing this time at Monk's Temple. May your nights be gentle, and your heart find its everlasting peace. Good night.